robots took my podcast, mate.
A terrifying legend never dies. It lives on. You were frightened in the Howling. And you'll be horrified as never before as the Howling terror continues in Howling III, the most terrifying howling of all.
I wonder how many more of them there are out there. Jesus. But how many of them have we killed over the years? They're nearly extinct.
I think they're dangerous. Evolutionary freaks.
We possess evidence that werewolves exist.
Where, for God's sake?
Australia.
Jeez, g'day. Want to put a shrimp on the barbie?
The Howling terror continues with a whole new breed of werewolves in Howling III. Rated PG-13.
Saturday night, welcome to the Robots Took My Podcast.
Hey, I'm Jordan. This is Anthony. Welcome to our Zoo Morning Show, Saturday night. Okay. Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to our podcast, The Robots Took My Podcast. I am Anthony, and with me as always is my co-host, Jordan.
Hello.
And Jordan, today we have a very special episode. Okay.
Yes.
This will probably be airing in the Halloween season. So we wanted to do a horror movie. We have a horror movie. We haven't done one of those in a while. And it's also, part of our Threequel series.
Our odd Threequel series.
This is an odd Threequel. So where we talk about the third movie in a franchise. And so, yeah, double fun there.
Mm-hmm.
Double your pleasure, a horror movie and a Threequel. So, Jordan, what film are we talking about today?
Well, appropriately for the season of Halloween, we're talking about Howling III, Season of the Witch, starring Tom Atkins from 1983, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace.
Jordan, hold on.
What?
No, we're not. We're talking about Howling III, the marsupials. Did you watch that movie?
I did, yeah.
All right, then just continue.
Anyway, but no, Halloween III, Season of the Witch, is a great movie, and especially to talk about during Halloween. And it's a classic. It's more as a classic, even though it doesn't fit quite in the whole genre of things with the, the Mike Myers thing.
Why don't we try talking about Howling III?
Yeah, okay. From 1987. It's a sequel to Howling 1 and 2 you're talking about?
Well, it's actually... Let's give a little background here. First off, this is an Australian-made movie with an Australian-made director.
This movie. Yeah, this movie. Okay.
Yeah. And so...
let's talk about this movie.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So anyway, this is an Australian-made movie, Australian director, filmed in Australia, I believe.
Yeah. Can I just say, first off, that I made the big mistake of watching the Marvel Disney Plus movie, Werewolf by Night, beforehand. Watching this movie, so it just did not help things at all. It made this movie look far, far worse even after that. Sorry, just saying.
It's a foreign film, Jordan. Let's keep that in mind. It's a foreign film. Different ideas about pacing and story.
Coming out of Australia, I would have expected better. Coming out of the Ausploitation, the peak of Ausploitation period in 1987, even.
Yeah, but Jordan, a lot of Australian movies are probably not necessarily for American taste, but
this one falls flat, mate. Sorry.
This
put another shrimp on the barbie.
This is get it all out. Get all the Aussie.
Okay,
Aussie
so
stereotypes
just to preface, we had.
Well, hold on. This is the second movie. Hold on a second.
Yes.
This is the second movie that we have talked about. That is Australian. The first being
The Man from Hong Kong.
The Man from Hong Kong.
that came out of Australia for sure. It was primarily an Australian production, mostly an
Yeah.
Australian. Even though Raymond Chow produced it, Golden Harvest, yes, but it was also primarily made in Australia, and a well done movie. My God, that looks like an Oscar winner compared to this movie. Just
Yeah.
saying.
An Oscar winner. Yeah, this was directed by Philippe Mora. How do you say his name?
Philippe Mora. Yeah. Can I bring this up too? The screenplay was written by Philippe Mora, but it's based on the book Howling
Yes.
3 by Gary Brandna. Apparently, according to the credits, which cracks me the fuck up. No, I just, it's almost like a joke, you know?
Yeah. Apparently it doesn't have much, as we'll find out, it doesn't have much to do with that book other than securing the title and maybe some elements. But Philippe Mora directed several movies. One is The Beast Within. So that's not a terrible movie.
That's the old movie with Ronnie Cox, I guess.
And Mad Dog Morgan, a movie with Dennis Hopper, who we talked about on My Science Project.
So he's no stranger to werewolf movies, basically.
Yeah. Well, he also directed the sequel to The Howling, Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf, the prequel, the second movie in the series as well.
Oh, did he? That movie with Sybil Danning topless and Christopher Lee in S&M gear.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, it's a toss-up over which movie is maybe worse or better. I don't know.
And this is where the franchise went off the rails already.
Well, one might say Howling 2 is where the franchise went off the rails.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Yes. It started with Howling 2, maybe, possibly.
Yeah. And he also directed Communion. Remember that movie with Christopher Walken about the aliens?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No! Go away! No! It's not here! Yes. That movie. Something like that. Wow. What a filmography.
What a track record. All right. So anyway, let's get into this. I hope he gets an
Irving Thalberg one day. I can't wait to see the montage.
Howling 3 clips. Anyway, so
presented by Sybil Danning.
To give some topless. To give some To give some context here, Jordan, what movie came out in 1986 that inspired an Australian craze, so to speak?
In 86?
A little movie called Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, yeah, I was going to bring that up some point while we were talking about this movie because there seems like a weird influence going on here.
Yeah.
Crocodile Dundee. It was almost like Hollywood had pardon my French, a hard-on for Australians. They were getting a taste of Australia, and they wanted more, mate. They wanted more of that Australian barbie on the shrimp on the barbie, something like that.
And then, what they got was this movie.
And then we had Crocodile Dundee, which just really was it really coming in full slam. And it just kept going from there, kids.
Yeah.
More Australia. It went beyond Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah. So anyway, this movie begins with Bandicka Pictures or Bandcana, whatever. How do you say that? Pictures.
It's like an old movie.
It begins with this logo, kind of like the MGM logo, except you have a thylacine, a Tasmanian wolf roaring. And I thought that was funny.
But then it has this odd footage at the beginning of some kind of uncivilized peoples. And they've got like something tied up and stabbed with a wolf's head or a marsupial's head over it. And it just looks like they're all standing around laughing at this ridiculous costume, honestly, in black and white footage.
Yeah, so it's black and white. It's from 1905. It's like found footage of a bunch of whitewashed Aborigines. I don't think everyone there, I could be wrong, they're painted up as an actual Aboriginal person. And they've got a werewolf, a person with a wolf head, at least from the waist up. Someone who's wearing a wolf costume from the waist up.
That's what's odd, from the waist up. Yeah.
Tied to a stake, and they're dancing around it,
And it looks like they're all laughing at this guy dressed up who's stabbed. It almost looks like it's from a bad party or something. Yeah. Like some bad hedonistic party where people painted themselves up in tempera paint and then accidentally killed a guest because they were all high on some bad hallucinogenic shit or something. I don't know.
That would have been a more interesting film, but no.
Yeah.
So we're teased with that, and then bear with me, Jordan. We do some globe trotting here. We hop over to Siberia, where we see a guy trying to run away from something, and a lot of
looks
people.
like it's shot in somebody's backyard too, by the way,
Yes.
and it's somebody's guest house, maybe.
I don't know if that's real snow or not, but anyway, he's screaming and something kills him. And then we hop over to the United States, where there's a computer.
Oh God!
It's
already we're all over the place.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anthony. I'm already getting fatigued. Anyway,
I know. I'm getting whiplash and
bless you for explaining all this.
And also jet lag at the same time. So anyway, and then it's flashing and says there's the special army is tracking a monster. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then we're at the National Intelligence Agency. And this is the first 2 minutes. We're on 3 different continents, I think. And then one of these FBI agents or national intelligence agents doesn't want to deal with this. He's like, another one of these werewolf reports.
Mm.
Then we further hop on over to California, where we meet the film's protagonist, I guess, Professor Beckmeyer.
I think, yeah.
Who's played by the Australian actor Barry Otto in a bunch of stuff that I'm not familiar with. But he's probably the best actor in the film, I guess.
Yeah, it's not so much too that this movie has bad acting. Mostly, it's just that's not the only problem with this movie either. I think a lot of the actors are decent, most of them, and honestly,
yeah,
I'll give the movie that. But yeah, and suddenly we're in a classroom, and then we're at the U.S.
We're in a classroom,
the U.S. San Andreas in California University.
Yeah, so we're all over the place. And as we go through, this is just strap on in, guys. This movie has a plot of some sort. But anyway,
not only is it a movie where people break out into hives and break out into hairy hives and all that, it's a movie that breaks out into a lot of subplots all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of subplots. And so he's talking about his grandfather who went to the Outback on an anthropological expedition. And then the film and that 1905 footage clip was so great that we probably see that 3 or 4 times in this movie, right?
Yeah. They were they had to use it, I guess. They had to get as much mileage out of that footage as they could. I don't know why the movie couldn't just open in this classroom, honestly. Because
I don't know.
Yeah. At least they cut to the chase and they're explaining shit, there.
Yeah, and he says this is found footage or the footage his grandfather shot, and the wolf mask is realistic. Yeah. We don't know how these primitive people created this. And then we go to Washington, and a lot of this happens without any subtitles.
The military stuff we're getting to.
At this point, they've given up because we're just jumping around the world. And so he goes to Washington, the professor, to meet the freaking president, Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone just knows the president, and the president's always working out or
is that
something.
Who that was? I was confused. I thought that guy was a Hollywood producer or something. Is that who this was?
Is it? Oh, I thought he was the president. I mean, they keep calling him the president.
Once again, I was so confused by this movie. I was so lost from the beginning. I just was literally, nothing helped. The drugs did not help, Anthony. The alcohol didn't help here.
I'm trying to make sense of this, and I'm probably getting a lot of this wrong. So
you're probably right. Honestly, that's how lost I just was. I guess. I'm sorry. Anyway,
and the president is played by Michael Pate, who is an Australian actor, did a lot of work in the States.
Oh, and he has this great line in the movie. It's just right a turn, just a Polaroid, something like that. Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway, he was also in Mad Dog Morgan. So he's worked with this director several times, it seems.
So, but he had a bad American accent, clearly, and but you're right. So the president in this movie is always just seen working out or jerking off or, lying by the pool, whatever, doing nothing for the country at all.
Yeah. and at first I was like, settle down, everybody. This isn't Jerry Orbach. I thought it was Jerry Orbach for 2 seconds. I was like, wait a minute. I panicked. It's okay. It's not Jerry Orbach.
They almost got Jerry Orbach, though. No, I'm just made that up.
Yeah. And so he was like, do the Soviets know we're into this crap? Because he's talking about werewolves and stuff, right? Hey, these werewolves.
Bioweapons already. A year after Aliens. Yeah.
So then Professor Beckmeyer goes back to Australia.
Yeah.
And
God, we're back to Australia now.
we're in Australia now. Yeah. And so then he meets this. Yeah, we meet this
I'm
woman.
sorry, Anthony. This movie made me uptight, unnecessarily uptight about things.
In the first 5 minutes, it's just
the first 5
like,
minutes. I'm just
what
like,
is going on here?
Where are we? I'm lost.
And then we meet this woman, Jerboa, and she lives in the Outback, or she lives in Australia somewhere with a bunch of other people in this
backwoods,
grid,
yeah. Where they have some
cult.
religious cult, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all just white trash in Australia, I guess. I don't know how to explain it other than that, or
Yeah.
White trash. Australia's version of white trash, folks.
Mm-hmm. They call them Bengals, Bingley Boos. But anyway, I don't. There's got to be Australian slang for that.
We're gonna get some hate from Australia, man. I don't know. You might have offended Australians.
That means Australians are listening to the podcast. So great.
Okay, Australians, please protest. We need the listeners.
Yeah. And so anyway, so this woman slaps her. She's not showing respect to the leader, and she's like, he's trying to rape me.
Yeah,
and
my stepfather tried to rape me, she says, because he was a werewolf also. Something like that, I think.
Yeah. The leader of the pack, so to speak, is called Thilo, and he's played by Max Fairchild, who was...
Max Fairchild, what a name.
Yeah. Who was in...
Was he in Mad Max?
He was.
That figures. I figure I recognize a lot of Mad Max actors, though. I recognize an actor later on we're going to probably mention when it comes up here in a second.
Yeah.
Too, from one of the Mad Max movies. Another odd threequel. Anyway.
Yeah, he was in Road Warrior and Mad Max, so... Anyway, and then so she runs away. She's tired of this. She runs away. She's on a bus talking to a priest. There's so many like weird non sequitur, short, choppy edits and scenes. And then she's like, my stepfather tried to rape me and he's a werewolf. And the priest is like, okay, cool. Then she's sleeping on a park bench in Sydney and some drunks come and she scares them off with this half wolf face,
Yeah.
And then
those
we get
eyes, and those glowing eyes.
Yeah.
Those contact lenses they paid for.
Yeah. So that's, if I'm saying it right, Jerboa, I think, played by Australian actress Imogen Annesley. And she's...
you're probably saying it right.
Okay. I guess. She's all right.
She's lovely. She's quite lovely, that Sheila. Yes.
And
I just did a British accent with an Australian somehow. I don't know.
It's Michael Caine doing an Australian accent. And then...
and then she's being cut to her running away and being stalked, literally, by a talent scout. Literally stalked by a talent scout. No, I'm sorry.
We get this really serious 80s music. We get this 80s music. Just so you know, it's the 80s. And this guy's chasing her out of nowhere. Real choppy edit. Like, what's going on here?
This guy's just chasing after her out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. He's an American. Donnie, played by Lee Biolos, and probably the worst actor in the film.
Worst American accent ever.
Yeah,
I don't
worst
buy him
American
as an
accent. I think he's
Sorry.
American. But anyway, worst actor.
I think he's Australian with maybe an American accent. I think, honestly, because he does not sound like a real American. I'm sorry.
I couldn't tell at this point. I don't know.
My English Australian accent meter goes to 2 here on this one.
Should we rate the American accents like we did British accents in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Exactly. Rate the American accents.
And so anyway, he's working on a film, and she'd be perfect. This film called Shapeshifters 8. And then,
like I said, he's literally a talent scout that stalked her, literally, this time.
Or he's just, he's just like, you'd be perfect for this movie. And then we get to the director. We cut to the film Shapeshifters 8 that they're filming, and the director is doing a Hitchcock impression.
Yeah, he kind of has that Hitchcock sort of silhouette himself. Yeah. And then he's the guy from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome that took the weapons and then made the deal. Yeah. He can break most men. Something like that he says in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Yeah, another Australian actor, but looking like a sort of half-assed Alfred Hitchcock director here on this part of the movie, which is just where the movie takes even an odder twist, because suddenly, she's an actress starring in a bad horror werewolf movie.
Yeah, she's some homeless girl sleeping on a bench, and then now she's in this horror movie called it came, or I don't. I know they do a clip of this movie. It's kind of like a sci-fi spoof called "It Came from Uranus," right?
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah,
It was
that part they
cute.
they introduced it as this is what the guy made. I think something like
Yeah.
that, or they're
And then somehow, I don't know, somebody turned into a werewolf with really intentionally cheesy and campy makeup. But that's very dangerous in your cheap werewolf movie to be making fun of bad werewolf effects. Takes
Yeah, it is. It is. That is a fine line, especially when you got to use a more or less, less is more kind of tactic. Where
Yeah.
you show the creature less to make more of it. In this movie's case, definitely.
Yeah, and so this movie kind of turns into like a horror spoof, Hollywood spoof kind of
Yeah,
situation.
it's Body Double. I don't know, by Brian De Palma from 1984, folks. Look it up. It's a movie that's already spoofs itself with, I don't know. Yeah, this movie is all over the goddamn place, man. Once again, it's just like I just wish the movie would stick to one gear or two, no more than two gears at least.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm waiting for this movie to transform into a good movie, and
Yeah.
I wait the whole movie for this to happen.
That too. I'm waiting for the movie to get more interesting, and yet there's just a lot of what the shit moments and a lot of what the fuck moments so far that don't connect properly.
Yeah. So Jerboas, like, they're doing a werewolf effect on the movie, and she's like, it doesn't happen like that. The full moon doesn't do that. And then, of course, she hooks up with Donnie, and then later in bed, she tells him she's a werewolf, and he sees all that hair on her body, and it looks like she has some sort of scar, some cesarean scar.
Yeah.
And I have to say, he is really sweaty after this sex. This was some sort of very aerobic sex, because she's already asleep, and he is just sweating like he just ran a mile.
Maybe he was on speed. I mean, to run that much and early on in the movie too, after her, when he's trying to scout her and basically stalks her, he's got to be on speed. I mean, it's 1987. He's got to be on cocaine as well. I don't know. Just saying.
So the production wraps, and then there's a rap party, and then the lights are bothering her, and she starts.
What a rap party this looks like too. I mean, good God, it looks like a Halloween party. Everybody's just drinking up, and obviously there's probably good drugs there. That's the other thing. I don't mean to sidetrack here, Anthony.
Oh, sidetrack away.
I wanted to like all these behind the scenes moments. For a second, I liked them, but they just don't feel that real enough to me, honestly.
Yeah,
they feel fake. They feel put on more. They just feel like somebody's version of a low budget movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really campy. It's like
it's overly campy.
It's overly campy. Yeah, and they're really trying to go for the laughs here, which is weird because, like, what I'm trying to figure out, what is this movie? Is this a Hollywood spoof? What is going on here?
Can we not just make to sound like Chris Farley here? Can we not just make a werewolf movie here, people? Jesus.
And so, there were the girls from the cult back in the Outback are coming, and they're dressed as nuns. And so we had a shot of them looking for her, following her to the city. And now they just show up at this party with wolf faces. Right?
Oh, that's why they're there. Okay.
Yeah. To find her. How they know she's there, I don't know. This is one of those movies where people just psychically know where people are. Right? Yeah. And then they turn into werewolves, and everyone just gets scared and starts running out of the party. It's a lame joke. But then Jerbo is freaking out. She runs in the street, gets hit by a car, and then the paramedics take her to the hospital. And we see a lot of werewolves in the hospital in this movie, people.
Talk about a lot of, I mean,
very medical werewolf movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Werewolf World all of a sudden. And,
So there's this other doctor, Dr. Sharp, who is best buds with Dr. Beckmeyer. And so he's like, come to the hospital. Lucky he was there. And so he's like, come to the hospital.
Thank God.
She has extraordinary anatomy. And then Donnie wants to see her. They won't let him, in the hospital. And then they're in the ER and they're looking at her pouch and she's sedated. And he's like, her physiology is 5 times that of a normal person. And then she has an unnecessary dream sequence where an alien-looking thing sort of bursts out of her stomach, right?
I'm sorry. There's a vacuum cleaner upstairs for me right now. I hope that's not coming on the mic.
Oh. Yeah, well, that vacuum cleaner doesn't suck as much as this movie does. Whoa. Jokes. Anyway, we'll just plow through it like it's good. Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so finally, Professor Beckmeyer has his proof, right? He's like, he has a werewolf, right? And so
I've got my proof. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the werewolf nuns steal her from the hospital, leave a trail of dead bodies, like bloodless bodies. How did they kill these people? Or what happened here? I don't know. It's just people laying down on the floor. They ran out of blood.
They just used their claws, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
This is a very bloodless werewolf movie, as we will find out. Very.
That's
bloodless.
another thing too. I mean, it made me. Oh God, I could go on about this movie and how confusing it is. And
we'll talk. Let's sort of plow through the plot right here real quick, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But so anyway, they're asking Donnie, the professor and the doctor are asking Donnie about information, and she is from some town called Flow, Flow. Okay, just remember that, Jordan. Remember that. Yeah, so she was pregnant, and they were asking him if he had sex with her, right?
Yeah. What did you have sex with her?
Was it normal?
I mean, talk about. I don't know. I would be more shocked than he is, though, in the scene. I think if that was me in his shoes, you know what I mean? If I was a single dude, just that desperate, and I had sex with this woman after, not dating for maybe a month or so, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He was probably dating before that, sure.
Well, the fact that he didn't notice all these really strange things about her body, maybe he hasn't had sex before, Jordan.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't pick up on any of that, did he? He wasn't very observant, was he?
No. No.
She was probably like, did you notice the tattoo on my foot, on my left foot? No, I didn't notice that. No.
Yeah.
No, you're beautiful. I didn't notice.
That tells me there was zero foreplay here from old Donnie.
Yeah. Anyway. This Donnie is just overly romantic. Yeah, he's just a hopeless romantic, obviously. And I mean, hopeless fucking romantic.
Yeah.
Doesn't notice shit, though, obviously, either. Not very observant, clearly.
Yeah. But anyway, so he's in love. I mean... times are tough, Jordan. It's hard to meet a lady. So, what are you going to do? Yeah, she's a werewolf.
But, back in that time of 1987, this was the time where people were afraid of AIDS more so. And they were telling you to wear protection. And he did not wear protection with this werewolf. And look at what happened.
Look at what happened, kids.
Look at what happened. So now he's going to be a werewolf daddy. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, hinting at later things. He's going to have to quit
Hollywood. He's going to have to go get a job in a factory.
Yeah, he's gonna have to quit his day gig as a talent scout and an AD and a second unit guy.
Yeah. So wear a condom, kids, because I guess this question has never been asked in film that I recall. I guess you don't become a werewolf by having sex with a werewolf.
Or is that how you become one suddenly? I guess
I don't think so.
This movie explains. Wait, yeah, but he becomes a werewolf, right? I thought, doesn't he become a werewolf?
No, he does not. He does not. Oh. That would almost be interesting.
But no, they spawn a werewolf kid, I think. Anyway.
Yes, yeah, possibly. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
I'm sorry, we're getting ahead. Sorry, spoilers ahead of this podcast already.
Spoilers, and so we need some more characters in this movie, and it's not confusing enough, Jordan. So there's a ballerina, right?
Yeah, now a fucking ballet. We're now at a fucking ballet out of nowhere. What the fuck, this movie? God damn it. Can you not just hold back a little bit on some things? We're the audience here, folks. Come on, filmmakers. We're the audience here. You have to be all over the goddamn place. Can't you just make a simple fucking werewolf movie here? Anyway.
Help us out.
Suddenly we're in a ballet, and suddenly it's an opera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's an area. It's a werewolf area.
And so we meet this ballerina from Russia. Remember the Siberian incident? Okay.
That's how that tied in.
Kind of. I mean, you have to put the pieces together yourself here. Like this movie gives you like a bucket of Legos or puzzle pieces and dumps them out onto a table, and it's up to you to put all this together.
Without the directions.
Nope.
No directions on
no
paper
help
for you either. You got to figure out the shapes and just make sure they fit together like a puzzle.
There's no picture of the puzzle on the box. Here's
now
the
you
pieces.
really got me thinking, Anthony, and this, you just applied Legos to screenwriting 101, Anthony. That is, wow. Wow, that was amazing. Yeah. I'm genuinely impressed. No sarcasm here.
I do teach a screenwriting class at the local
San Andreas
College
University in California.
Yeah. and I actually teach from Howling 3 how not to write a script. It's wonderful. The kids watch, the students watch Howling 3, and then usually they drop the course right after that. But those that stay, learn a little bit. Anyway, the ballerina
That's great, because usually they use Plan 9 in those terms from outer space. But yeah.
That's a simple plot, though, Jordan. That's a very easy to follow plot.
Plan 9 had an easier plot. I never thought I would say that. Wow. This movie.
And I can tell you,
this movie made me irrationally angry, Anthony, for no reason. It made me angry at Philip Mora, whatever his... Philip Mora, is that like an Australian cigarette distributor? Philip Mora?
Yeah.
Philip Mora, a great cigarette, mate. A great smoke, a great exhale, inhale.
So anyway, you ever see a movie and there's a scene and you're like, oh, this was the scene that, one of the scenes that was like the genesis of the movie. Yeah. You can tell where the director or the writer, whoever was like, this will be cool. And you can just tell that this
I know
scene
what
happens.
Scene I feel like, you're getting to that scene. And I think I know which scene you're getting to.
The ballerina's there with her partner, some guy, and she feels weird. And he's looking at her eyes and it's like, oh, you're not transforming. And then he gets a psychic image and then he draws a face on some paper and it's Thilo. And then she goes out and she's like, I'm feeling weird, whatever. So she goes out and starts dancing, right? They're doing this ballet production. And then what happens as she's twirling, Jordan?
She slowly starts to turn werewolf-like, kind of, in her face. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Kind of werewolf-like, Anthony?
Yeah.
I mean, and we're not even, this is just rehearsal for this opera too. We're not even having a fucking audience. Well, they couldn't afford the audience for this movie, I guess.
Well, who's in the audience?
The extras.
Yeah, it's Dr. Sharp and Professor Beckmeyer for no reason. And I must have missed how they knew to be there, or happenstance. They're just watching a ballet rehearsal.
Yeah, somehow they're there. I mean, this professor just must have a passport out the ass, just stamped out the fucking ass.
And he's just so lucky. He just keeps running into werewolves. He's been looking for werewolves his whole life. And in the last week, he just keeps, hey, this chick's a werewolf. Whoa.
Yeah. He somehow just finds them. Yeah. Just, as you said before in the screenwriting 101 term of fate happens to him, Anthony. Fate happens to him.
It's like, you know how some people foster dogs and they keep acquiring dogs? They just keep running into stray dogs. He keeps running into werewolves, and fostering
stray
them.
Werewolves, mate.
And so they take the ballerina to the hospital and she's there under observation. Then another werewolf attacks and it's her partner and they shoot him because people don't know how to strap down werewolves in this movie. I got to say, they have like one flimsy little strap.
Straight jacket. Yeah.
Something, come on, man. Like, let's assume that werewolves might be strong or have some powers or something. Let's not just.
But that's inhumane, Anthony. That's inhumane to a werewolf. Anthony.
I know.
You got to be you got to handle a werewolf with kosher gloves, Anthony.
Yeah, kosher gloves. I like that. And so anyway, she transforms, and Jordan, what do the werewolf effects look like in this movie?
I mean, sometimes they look great. Sometimes they look like a Halloween mask, a Halloween mask stuck over somebody's hand up in front of the camera lens. I'm going to say it. That's the way it looks a lot of times.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just sometimes brilliant. Sometimes not so good.
Yeah. A lot of times it's like someone's just wearing a werewolf head, like a big wolf head mask thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like their legs will be bare, but their arms will be hairy.
It's not that different. Honestly, even though this movie was made in 1987, it's not that different from what I saw at Spirits for $10 the other day.
Yeah.
honestly. Where the mouth is just permanently wide open. The wolf mouth is permanently wide open with teeth just, agape, and the tongue just permanently frozen in one position like it's a carpet or something.
The eyes don't move. It's kind of like you went to a haunted house and like it's one of the, I don't know.
Compared to the first movie where you had Rob fucking Teen, who trained Rick Baker even, and before American Werewolf even, and gave Rick Baker probably ideas on American Werewolf in London how to do shit, and did the effects on Howling 1 and RoboCop, and list goes on, and Total Recall. Compared to that, it's like it's like back in the 50s when you had a black and white sequel to the first color movie of The Fly, and in the end you had worse acting and worse effects by the third movie. I don't know.
Well, the Howling movies were never really known for their effects, especially after the first one. So,
you couldn't top that, I guess. Honestly, you couldn't top Rob Bottin.
This feels like a TV movie. Yeah. So anyway,
list goes on.
So she attacks the staff there, and then what happens, Jordan? She gets up, attacks, and then we have a quick cut to what?
Wait, after she attacks, okay, I'm lost. Where are we in the movie?
A dummy falling out of a very tall building.
Oh, that's
the ER
right.
or wherever they have her is like in the 50th floor of this building.
That's right. I got lost on that movie. Oh, no. Okay, no. That wasn't the Seagal movie I was watching early this week. Okay, no. That was this movie. Yeah,
no. Steven Seagal's even more horrifying, I think, than the werewolves in this movie.
That's right. Ooh.
And the werewolf makeup is better than Steven Seagal's like hair dye and whatever. Anyway,
why didn't he do a werewolf movie back then? Steven Seagal, out for the fur, after the lycanthrope,
beyond the moon.
Steven Seagal, lycanthrope afterbirth.
I hear there's some werewolves around here. Giving birth.
No, sir. I don't know what you're I don't know what you're saying, sir. No, there's no werewolves around here, sir.
Oh, maybe you need to think a little harder.
Oh, maybe I do.
So,
Mr. Seagal,
the doctor and the professor go to Flo, right? That town in the Outback where all the werewolves live. And Donnie is also walking there. Apparently, he has a backpack separately.
Yeah.
Then this Aboriginal guy shows up. He's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think he was in Crocodile Dundee. I think he was another big Australian actor, honestly.
I thought he was. Burnham. I looked that up. I didn't see him, but I don't know. His face looks familiar.
I think he played an Aborigine in Crocodile Dundee 1 and 2, I think, possibly, if I remember correctly. But I could be wrong. I hate to...
I don't think he is. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jordan.
Oh, okay. I was wrong.
His face looks familiar. I swear I was thinking the same. I was like,
I know I've seen him in other movies from that.
But I don't think,
from Australia, made in Australia.
I don't know. He's rather charming and he's pretty funny and he just jumps out and scares people for no reason. So that's pretty funny. Anyway.
Yes. And then he befriends them. He becomes their friend. But that's just jumping ahead. Anyway.
And so the army's in there looking for the wolfman. And then Jerbo's back in the compound, and then she goes to the barn, and what do we see, Jordan?
Oh, God.
The other memorable thing that you can't get out of your freaking mind after seeing it in this movie.
Okay. This scene, Anthony, the bizarre David Lynch Eraserhead looking baby birth.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
Even Lynch himself looked at this scene and went, "That's fucking bizarre, Chief." That's what he said. I thought I was almost going to be sick watching this scene, even though I was watching it, I hadn't eaten anything yet. Luckily, I was just a few drinks into my evening watching this scene. But, oh man, this scene is so bizarre. Where do I start? I mean, she's lying there going, and you're like, what's going on? What's coming out of her, going in her? We don't see what's going on there yet, us as the audience. And then they cut to like between her legs, and this creature is coming out of her private part area. This little creature. It's so bizarre, but you see her human fingers caressing it and pulling it out of her private part area. I don't know how to describe it either, other than the private part
Well,
area, honestly, because I don't know.
yeah.
Because she's a wolf creature, how do you describe that area?
And
Anyway,
she's quite hairy as well. She's not like
she's
wolf
very hairy
hairy
down there. It's
She's-
bizarre, but you probably don't want the kids in the room during this scene, and you probably don't want to be eating anything during the scene, folks.
Yeah, it's a freaky werewolf marsupial birth scene. You see,
Yeah.
Jordan, unlike placental mammals, marsupials are born not fully formed, right? And
Yeah.
so they crawl, they're born and they crawl
Yeah.
sticky and whatever into the mother's pouch where they continue
I'm sorry, I'm
their
getting
development.
nauseous as you're saying this. I'm sorry. Keep talking though. Go ahead.
Birth is a beautiful thing,
I'll try to
Jordan.
bear through it. It's not a beautiful thing sometimes. I remember watching my kid being born, Anthony, and keep talking. Anyway, this birth scene though, yeah.
And anyway, so we see the marsupial werewolf puppet crawling from her swimsuit area into her pouch. Like, why?
Her pouch. She has a pouch. What the hell? Like a kangaroo or something, Anthony. What is going on here? And then the creature crawls into the pouch. The fleshy, human-looking, hairy pouch. What the fuck? My voice is wrong. What happened to my voice talking about this, Anthony? Just see the psychological effect this movie has had on me, Anthony.
You have a case of the Michael J. Fox, Mallory.
I'm sounding like, Michael J. Fox from the 80s now.
Why did we have to see this scene? Why
did this scene have to exist, Anthony? Why?
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre,
body horror,
Anthony.
But it's also
why?
It's trying to be touching. It's not trying to be gross. I guess it's trying to be gross. I don't know.
Yeah, they're making it off like it's E.T. It's like their little E.T. moment, like they've got the cute and cuddly music over the scene in the movie. Don't get us wrong, folks. They're trying to make it all cute and cuddly, but I'm just
she's happy about this. This isn't like bad. This is like her baby was born. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah, she's like, look at my little miracle, like,
the miracle of life.
The miracle of life, the miracle of childbirth. I mean, why don't you just put it on a bumper sticker?
So, yeah. Anyway, so we got to see that. Check that off my movie bucket list.
Yeah, right. I never thought. I mean, this made the weird alien baby from David Lynch's 1977 movie Eraserhead look like a Disney film by comparison.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain what I felt like when I saw this high off my ass early in the at 1 a.m. watching this movie.
You weren't prepared, clearly.
I was not prepared for that. That was one what the shit moment. That was the one big what the shit, what the fuck moment of this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It is, even Michael Cronenberg was like, that's a bit far.
Half the review is about this scene. Yes, I'm sorry, folks. But yeah. You'll see it for yourself, folks. If you ever watch this, I'm just saying, hey, you go watch this movie for yourself, folks. Just saying.
You will never forget that scene.
That's right.
Anyway.
This movie will fix you up. Don't worry.
So anyway, the ballerina shows up because I guess she was drawn to Thilo and then kisses him and everyone's clapping and singing and that little hippie thing.
Oh,
and then
we're back to
Donnie
the
shows up.
Thing. Yeah.
And then what's even almost as weird as the birth, Jerboa shows him the baby in her pouch. And he's in no way freaked out about this, Jordan.
No.
He's all about this.
Not at all. He's a happy father just right there. Then and there, nothing weird at all. He didn't even, I'm kind of pissed off that he didn't get to see what we saw. That's not fair at all. He was spared all that. That just seems so convenient. So fucking convenient for him. Since I am a father and I've seen my childbirth can be bizarre to watch. I'm just saying. I'm not going to go into detail how mine went down.
Yeah.
But it can be bizarre to watch. I'm just saying.
But so your child crawled up into your wife's pouch and you were like,
yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, I was just like, aw. Nothing weird about this at all. No.
And so,
look at that. Yeah. She's got a fleshy pouch just perfectly cut right out of there. No problem. Beyond cesarean.
But Jordan, I know, like I said, no times are tough, and Donnie's never been laid before, and he doesn't know this is not normal. Maybe he's just like you said, the proud papa to this freaky half wolf, half human alien, more wolf baby thing.
Maybe it's like that. Giving birth to a wolf baby in your early 20s. Maybe it's like that. Maybe it feels like a miracle. I don't know. I don't know, but he didn't see what we saw, Anthony.
Yeah, that's true. But it would have been even weirder to have him there because he would have been smiling and helping. I'm glad he wasn't there. It would have added another level.
Judging
of
by his reaction, maybe he would have been just the perfect supportive father. Maybe that's why he's the perfect daddy. Maybe that's why he's perfect for this woman in this movie. Okay, maybe.
Well, I think the werewolves have sort of, because people keep, later on we find out people keep falling in love with werewolves, and I think they put out this vibe. They're very seductive. Not even like trying
must
to
be a pheromone kind of thing.
Something. But anyway, the military shows up because the army's, all about this.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
They
Back
show
to the
up
military. Back to that part.
Yeah. And then Professor Beckmeyer's telling Olga, the ballerina, like, hey, we're here to help. And then she's like, you've been hunting and killing us for thousands of years, and so that's why they're kind of in hiding in this town. And then they take her back to the lab again, and they put her under hypnosis, right? And they're videotaping her. Is this like, and at this point, I'm like, is this even a movie at this point? Like, what?
Yeah, I was questioning that too. I mean, this movie was just playing into my early morning high and buzz watching this movie late at night kind of feeling. It just played into that, like, what the fuck am I watching here? Yeah. What is going on? I've been through so many different places. I mean, I'm like, this movie is all over the goddamn place.
Yeah, so this is like the third time we've got a werewolf in a lab under observation or whatever.
Yeah. As far as like cross-cutting, concurrently cutting. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so he's like, he got her under hypnosis and he's like, how did this come to be? Like, how did you all become werewolves, And then he's looking at her and he almost kisses her. You can tell. That's what I'm saying. He's seduced by her or something,
Yeah. Because who isn't,
Yeah. I don't know what he's a professor of. And that's one of these things in these movies. Like, you've got a geology professor who also knows like nuclear physics or whatever. And I guess he's trying to determine, like, according to evolution, how this all happened. Anyway, we cut over to Jerboa's baby, and it's much bigger because remember they have the metabolism thing, and it's a weird looking wolf baby thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm, it's a not bad animatronic. What'd you think about that?
It looked better than some of the werewolf stuff in the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
I'll give it that.
It
looked alive. That's what kind of was more. They obviously spent more of their budget on that thing.
Yeah,
than they did the other some of the other makeups in some of the other makeups felt last minute kind of ish.
Yeah,
like they ran out of money, kind of thing.
I kind of liked it. I thought it was okay, and it's cute, sort of. And I mean, at this point, I'm all in. I'm like, okay, where are we going, movie? All right.
These were some of the better, more interesting parts of the movie, though. The scene I'm going over that I was traumatized by or shocked by, the birth scene. Yeah, it was one of the more interesting scenes of this movie that just plays out fluidly, at least, though. You know what I mean? Compared to everything else, where they're just cross-cutting to different continents.
Yeah,
with the military. And all this other stuff.
Yeah, the movie's staying in one place for a minute, which is a relief because you feel exhausted. Like, okay, let's stay in one location for 30 seconds.
I mean, that's what it is, even as bizarre as that scene is.
Let's not have an edit. Let's not have a cut for just 30 seconds and just give us some space to breathe here, okay?
Have we got to the...
I'm almost there. They have Thilo, the leader. He's in the lab with sensors on him again. And Olga is his mate
scene,
or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
this scene. I think I know what you're talking about with this scene. I think I know where we're going with this scene.
Yeah. Then we get into this weird, I don't know how to describe this because it's another element of the movie. It's almost the spirituality. There's almost like this werewolf mystical something or other, mystical history, lore, myth that kind of weaves into here. He said Olga is his mate. She came from Russia to Australia because she's his mate.
They really mess around with the mythology of werewolves here because these aren't like the typical werewolves we're used to that are killed by a silver bullet, obviously, or anything like that. They don't mess. It doesn't go in that area, oddly. This goes in, you're right. It goes in some weird voodoo area with werewolves, and they kind of mess with anyway. And I guess we're getting to this scene where Thilo is with being lab tested.
Yeah, and so they've got him like all with sensors on him, and he's videotaped, and it's really surreal and weird. And he says Olga is his mate. She came from Russia. She's a different species. Like they're thylacines, Tasmanian wolves, which were marsupials, obviously, and then they went extinct.
Yeah,
right. and
Yeah.
or were driven to extinction. And then she's
Right.
from Russia, so she must be like a regular wolf, in a werewolf, like a normal, And so
She's the classic sense of werewolf. Yes.
classic werewolf.
I don't know.
And
The red square werewolf.
yeah. So she has come there to bring like new blood to their bloodline because I guess they're all being inbred. Because remember, Thylo was trying to have a baby with Jerboa, right? So they need new blood.
Oh, that's right. And because they all look kind of inbred from where Thylo was from. Yeah.
And so his mother told him, and they see it in the stars, and then it was like kind of like psychically new, and they were drawn together. Anyway, something weird like that is he's explaining, and it's a good performance actually. I think it's very bizarre, but I like that.
Like
scene.
I said, I don't have any problem with the actors in this movie. I feel like they're all fenced in from a bad script and bad editing, honestly.
Yeah.
Very honestly. I mean, it's wasted talent here, a lot of it.
Oh, I agree. And so anyway, they know like if you flash lights at them, then they freak out. And so just like epileptics have fits, then they transform.
Yeah.
So they stupidly shine a light, and they just have a little tiny strap on him, Jordan, like a couple little straps. He's a big guy to begin with.
This scene, I tortured by the strobe light. I mean, they torture this poor werewolf man with the strobe light. And that is not a nice thing to do to someone. I mean, someone tortured me with a strobe light when I was 19 and on an acid trip where I thought I was a werewolf. And it was not nice then. I'm just saying, it's not very nice to do to somebody. They also put a blender in front of me, and then they put a tomato and said that was my brain. They were going to put it in the blender just to fuck with me. But no, those guys were not my friends.
They were not your friends.
No,
clearly.
Anyway. But back to this movie. Sorry. But no, it's not nice to torture somebody with a strobe light is my point. That's all. I didn't mean to go off the rails on that one.
It isn't nice, kids. Manners. What also isn't nice is how Thylo began this movie as some sort of incestuous rapist, and now he's supposed to be a sympathetic guinea pig. And so anyway, so then he freaks out and he breaks out and wolfs out, and then
understandably,
yeah, tranquilize him. Then it's really weird. He's got fur, but then he has the stripes of a Tasmanian tiger on him.
Yeah,
right? It's just
weird.
Australian
werewolf.
Yeah,
the Australian werewolf looks like that. He's got part Tasmanian looking.
Thylacine, by the way, Australian for werewolf. And so then
lycanthrope is the way we pronounce it here.
We call them wolfabingos.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so
yeah,
Thylo, they show him the thylacine photo, and it was like, yeah, we were born from him when the hunters killed him because people drove the thylacine to extinction in the early 20th century. His spirit came into us. So you've got this spiritual mythic thing going on. And then the military, we cut to the military, both U.S. and American, and they're talking to the professor and the doctor, and they're like, well, we've known about these werewolves. We started killing them in 1888. The professor wants to study them, and the military's like, no, we have to kill them. And then there's some BS about the Pope and how the Pope thought they were satanic back in the day. I don't know. All this history.
Yes. Oh, my God. It's too much. Oh,
They've been persecuting werewolves for a long time, and the professor kind of wants to save them. He's like, well, I'm going to speak to the president because, everybody just walks in when the president's like taking a leak in this movie.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go talk to the president because I'm an Australian professor of werewolves.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I've already spoken to the president. The doctor's like, yeah, let's kill these things. And he's kind of like, his buddies sort of turned over to the dark side, I guess. And so at this point, the movie becomes like sympathetic to the werewolves. Really, you feel bad, like you said, for Thylo, and you start feeling bad for Jerboa, right?
True. They're like the replicants in Blade Runner, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's always been kind of in many werewolf movies, a sympathy, right?
Yeah.
A sympathy for the person's plight being a werewolf, like in the Wolfman, the 41 Lon Chaney Jr. movie, Ginger Snaps. There's a ton of movies where it's like an affliction, right?
Yeah. Those movies, I wish they'd just been, I don't know. To me, every monster movie should look like those movies. They should be like those Lon Chaney Universal movies or something. If you're going to go that direction, even if you're doing modern terms,
Yeah.
you should go that direction. Like, even if you're doing it in 1987, you should go that way somehow,
Yeah.
especially after doing 2 Howling movies where you've already done it all.
Yeah.
And nothing connects dots in the 2 movies before either hardly, other than they're just fucking werewolf movies. You know, it's just like, man.
Yeah. Well, there's no dots connecting in this movie with itself.
No,
So
no amount
nothing to
of
do with the other
alcohol
ones,
or
yeah.
cannabis could help me hack through this forest of subplots.
And
And I did at one point when I was watching this, I went and grabbed a machete from my garage at one point, and it was because it was so bad, the subplots building up, the forest of subplots. I was trying to hack my way through. And this was already at 2 a.m. at that point when the movie's about almost, anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it becomes a sympathetic werewolf movie. Is this even a horror movie anymore at this point,
No,
Jordan?
this becomes Crocodile Dundee 2 with
Yes.
werewolves, basically.
It does.
At this point.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, where they go to the Outback and they're kind of hiding from people.
We're in the Outback. The Aborigines are going to help us because they know all about the Outback werewolves that we have here.
It's like if Paul Hogan got bitten by a werewolf at the end of Crocodile Dundee, this is Crocodile Dundee 2.
Yeah, exactly. Those aren't fangs. No, those are fangs.
Yeah. So it's sympathetic to the werewolf and really starts to push this idea of the werewolves being persecuted and hunted down, just like the real thylacine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
True.
I like
you
that.
do feel bad for them.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
But like I said, it ceases to be a horror movie. It's not scary anymore.
No, suddenly it's like
has become the monster and chasing these poor werewolves, sort of.
Suddenly it's like Bride of the Monster crossed with Conquest of the Planet of the Apes torture scenes,
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to describe it.
Yeah.
And
so Thylo bit or scratched the professor whenever he escaped one of those times. And he doesn't become a werewolf. I thought he was going to become a werewolf or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I guess he's falling in love with Olga. Maybe he's falling in love with Thylo. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but he decides to let them go. I guess he's like, we got to save these things and protect them.
Yeah.
We got to preserve them. They're human. That's one of the questions this movie struggles with. Are they human? Are they not? Are they people? Do they have rights? I mean,
if you're thinking of it in terms as a good movie, somewhat, Anthony. Yeah, maybe.
I never said that, mate. Never said it.
Okay, mate. Sorry, mate. Let me take a sip of my cerveza here. Anyway, put another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah. So now it's about saving werewolves, and how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that shift?
That's fine. It's just there's too many plots. It's too much.
It's too much. You're just kind of like,
it's too much.
We did so much hopping around. We could have gotten here a lot quicker, I think.
It's exhausting. Even this movie is 98 minutes. I looked at it. I watched the time after a while because it felt like it took 3 days to get through this movie. Even at 98 minutes is too long. There's too many subplots. There's too many. God.
Yeah. Well, it's in Australia, they use the metric system. So it's really like 225 minutes, Australian minutes.
Per page of script, I guess. Yes, yeah. I understand, Anthony. But
so now we're in the Outback, and we are literally watching Crocodile Dundee 2 with werewolves, and hunters are after the werewolves.
We're hunting wolves, mate. We're hunting the wolves, but we're hunting the friends too, mate.
So the army's hunting the wolves. There's hunters that are just hunting the wolves and everything.
Yeah. The friendly Van Helsing character is hunting the main character guy. He's hunting him a friendly way, looking for a friendly way to help him, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, too many subplots. Sorry, sir.
Because Donnie and Jerbo are hiding out there, and then we have Professor Beckmeyer and Thylo and Olga, and they come to the town, and we see the sign flow for the town backwards.
Yeah.
What is flow backward, Jordan?
Oh, I forgot. Is it flow? No,
it's wolf.
Wolf, that's right. Oh, that.
I didn't realize that, but then from one side it says flow, and the other side just says wolf, which I thought was.
Oh my god!
I
I
don't
feel like a
know. At this
dumbass for
point,
not noticing that. Wow, I didn't notice it. I did not notice the subtext of this
yeah,
movie.
at this point, I've had a few too many Fosters. I'm just like whatever.
That's what it was for me too. Yeah, had to be in the mood. This movie was brought to you by Foster's, by the way,
Yeah, everyone was drunk when they wrote it, directed it, acted in it.
and then some. I think I think there was because it is 1987. There might have been a little blow involved in the writing the script. I don't know. A little blow in the editing. I don't know.
Something.
I don't know what else to blame it all on other than they were all on blow. It was 1987.
Somebody had some idea.
Blow
I
and
don't
Foster's. They were all on cocaine and Foster's, Anthony.
know. It was the 80s. There was nothing but cocaine and nothing but Foster's flowing. Yeah.
I mean, bless them. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying. I don't know what else to blame the plot being all over the direction and all over the continent. Jeez, they zip from one direction or the other. Jeez.
Yeah.
Can you see the pitch meeting of this? I mean, my God.
Yeah. So many things happen. It's like, I don't know. So the movie could happen. Yeah. I mean, just like things just keep happening. Like, okay, so then we go to Kendi, the old Aboriginal guy, and he does, so everyone's chasing them. He does some sort of ritual. He's all painted up. And then he turns into a werewolf. I didn't think he was a werewolf, but
that's right.
Maybe turns into one, or
that was summons, wasn't
it? The Phantom was who they originally described as. Jerbo was talking earlier about how it was a man who loved a beautiful wolf, and then they had children. He had children with the wolf, but that was like different than the origin story that Thilo gave earlier about the spirit of the thylacine entering them. There's like multiple conflicting weird mythologies kind of battling it out here about how the werewolves came about. It's very strange.
Oh, God, a brother can only take so much in a plot, Anthony. You know? Yeah. A brother and the audience can only handle so much plot and so much subplot and subplot and subplot.
Yeah, this story has, like, not pace-wise, it just has all the momentum of Mad Max, kind of, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a story. Momentum going in 100 directions at once. You know what I mean? It's just all over the place.
It's almost like the editor let his little kid come into the editing room and go, you want to see how I splice a piece of film together? You want to help Daddy? All right. Yeah. Here, I'll show you how it's done. And you just put these pieces of film together. You just tape them together, and they'll become the movie. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now Daddy's going to take a nap, okay? Okay, Look at the movie. Oh, it's done. Daddy's so proud of you. Daddy didn't even check, like, how he did it. I don't know any other way to explain it other than that as well. That scenario as well. I'm sorry.
It's like a child, edited this. But anyway, we're almost through to the end of the movie. And so a werewolf kills the hunters and saves Jerbo and the baby and everybody. And then they all, I guess Kendi sort of psychically summons Thilo and Jerbo and a bunch of people to him, and he's laying down.
Did we get to the future part yet?
What?
Did we get to the part where they skip ahead in time when we go to the future?
Oh, yeah. We're almost there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm a werewolf from the future.
I know. It sounds like I'm joking, folks, but I'm not.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, almost there. And so the army is still after him. At least 2 soldiers are. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the army.
That's all I can afford
else, I don't know what happened
to the movie.
Yeah. And so Kendi is just laying down, and basically I guess he used all his energy to transform into a wolf through like Aboriginal magic or something.
Yeah.
And he's dying, and then he dies.
Yeah, he's dying.
And then they burn his body. The soldiers see the smoke.
Yeah. They burn him. Poor guy.
And then they get to the where the fire was, a charred bunch of bones. And Jordan, what do the soldiers see?
Oh, this is like
what happens.
This is like a, Aleister Crowley's dream, but if they only had $1.25 to finance what the dream looked like in Aleister Crowley's mind, and they shot it, it's just like, oh, I'm not really dead. It's like a Halloween looking skeleton,
but it has a wolf's head.
Yeah, it has a wolf's head with the
weirdly
wolf's teeth, with the big canine still. Yeah, oddly, it's still got the wolf skull. Yeah.
And it attacks the soldier, and then they shoot it. So it can
Oh,
survive a
that's right.
burning
The way they
fire,
shoot
but
it just, and after they shoot it, just crumbles into pieces, man.
yeah.
Like they had to blow it up with a firecracker, you know.
Yeah, but it still had eyeballs in it, which is weird. Everything's charred, but it still has these eyeballs in this wolf skull. But Kendi wasn't
Yeah.
a wolf when he died, so I guess he turned into a wolf as he was being burned. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's one more little. It's just hey, yeah.
This is
subplot.
Oz.
One more subplot.
Yeah. Put another subplot on the Bobby.
You might want to put an echo under that, Anthony. Another subplot.
Okay. So that was weird. And then Philo doesn't like Donnie, and then so he leaves, and then he does a ritual to turn into the big one. The big one. Okay?
The big one.
The soldiers are in a tent, and the big one comes, and it's exactly that. What is the big one, Jordan?
Wait a minute. God damn, I forgot. What was the big one here?
The big one is just a giant werewolf head, like a giant werewolf head that bursts into the tent and kills the soldier. It looks like something from, remember that movie Razorback? Or I don't know. It
literally looks like they took a Halloween,
or
like they just used a Halloween mask over somebody's hand, and they just like lunged it at the camera on this part.
Oh no, but it was giant. It's clearly a big prop.
Yeah, but it doesn't move or nothing. It's just so inanimate.
Yeah.
So they might as well just use a fucking doll.
Yeah.
You know, or just like a taxidermied wolf head or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, that's a problem with a lot of the masks and things in this movie. That, like you said, the jaws don't move. There's no articulation. This is just a big static prop thing that somebody wheeled into this tent and the guy's reacting to. We could have made this in the weekend, Jordan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it wouldn't matter if they hadn't slapped Howling 3 on the title and you have that connected to Rob Bottin on the first movie effects. Come on. It's just like, you know, it's like okay, for a dumb example, it's like making a Star Wars sequel and having way less money. Yeah. And you slap the Star Wars title on there and it looked like a fan film. It looked like a cheap fan film. This is like literally, it looks like a Howling fan film made back then in 1987. I mean, honestly, I think Howling 3 was slapped on the title. I think this was a case like the Troll 2 where they just slapped it on the title almost. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but
yeah, but you're right. Yeah, Star Wars 4, the marsupials. Why not? Well, let's just make a sequel to anything and just call it the marsupials. You know, RoboCop 5, the marsupials. You know.
Just imagine they'd made Return of the Jedi, kids.
Harry Potter and the marsupials.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
Just imagine, kids, they'd made Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks looked even shittier or something. They just looked really shitty, you know. They literally look like they had just, like they put like kids in bad fur costumes or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we find out. Describe it. Yeah.
And then there's an Ewok birth scene where a little Ewok crawls up into a pouch.
Yeah, pretty much, like, honestly.
Why am I watching this?
Yeah. Too much. I'm just...
Yeah. Speaking of too much, anyway, this movie. Then, for no reason, the doctor is talking to the president again because, Dr. Sharp, just everybody knows the president. They can just walk on in and talk to him, you know? No security, nothing. Just walk on in. And so he's like, you got to stop killing werewolves. This was the guy that was all about killing werewolves earlier, and it's probably me. I probably missed his change of heart. There probably was a touching scene, a conversation I missed. I can't tell. There's so much flying at me in this movie. You know what I mean? I'm just dodging plots, subplots, and things that don't go anywhere. So he tells the president that we need to stop killing these werewolves. And then he says, what happened to Beckmeyer? And he's like, well, he fell in love with the Russian werewolf. And so we cut to the professor and Olga making out. Well, they're enjoying the beautiful countryside, and they have a moment, I guess.
Boy, what a view! Yes, it's something like that.
Yes, with a view. I am a werewolf. Let's make out. And so then they make out.
I almost expect him to say like, "Why, I think I love you. We're just in love now, aren't we? I guess." For the sake of the plot, you and I are in love, aren't we?
Yeah. I know you're a werewolf ballerina and I'm just a professor, but maybe it sounds crazy, but maybe we can.
It's just going to work out that way, isn't it?
Anyway, so they start making out. But this is weird. Isn't this a love triangle? Because she was fated or whatever brought there to be with Thylo. Now, Thylo was killed. He was the giant
well, that
werewolf.
doesn't matter now. She's
he was killed by
conveniently in love with
Bazooka,
him.
so he's gone.
Yeah,
I know it does.
They don't need to explain that. They explained all this other stuff. They don't need to explain that. This movie doesn't need to explain that, Anthony. I'm sorry.
You know what, Jordan? This movie better start explaining something. I don't care what. It just better start. It better transform into a movie that actually wants to tell the audience what's going on.
I agree. I want this movie to sit down. I'm just going to start talking this movie like my daughter. I want it to sit down and just, please, talk to me. Please, tell Daddy. Tell Daddy what's going on here. Please. Please.
Movie.
Be verbal with me here. Movie. Tell me what's going on. Exactly. Exactly. I want movie. You have a lot to talk about here, but you have not told me anything. You have not explained anything, mister.
The movie's almost over at this point, so it's almost like, why bother explaining anything at this point? You know.
By the way, this is a new segment Anthony and I are going to do where it's if this movie could talk, if we could talk to this movie as a person, and it's because of this movie, because of the Howling III.
Movie, take a knee. We've got something to talk about here. Look, I've been trying to follow you for over an hour at this point, and I'm sorry, I don't understand what the hell is going on. There are so many plot holes.
I've been trying to follow what you're trying to tell me for, I don't know how long. Has it been 98 minutes here so far? Movie? Jesus Christ, movie.
Look, movie, from me to you.
You've told me a lot, but you've told me nothing.
That's what I was thinking. I have in my notes. It's like so much happens, yet nothing happens at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you keep expecting something. It's like you keep expecting something profound, and it makes me drink more and then take more hits of weed, trying to keep just to swim through the comprehension of this movie, the fog of comprehension of this movie. And my beer fog now, and my weed fog now, and it's just
movie. See what you did? You made Jordan cry. You see what you did, movie?
You made me just angry for no reason and sad for no reason. You made me the tragic German figure I don't want to be. You made me have this horrible Werner Herzog accent, and I don't know how to explain it now, movie.
See what you're doing, movie? You're making Jordan do a horrible Werner Herzog impression.
Why, movie? Yeah. You killed me.
It's like,
is this a werewolf movie? What happened?
It's like an intervention. It's like, movie, you just need to decide what you want to be. Yeah. Are you a horror movie? Are you a sympathetic werewolf movie?
I bless you for trying to explain the plot on this movie, Anthony. Seriously, because I just could not follow. And even still, when you explain it, it's still like, what, huh? Wait, what happened?
I'm trying. I'm probably wrong in some of this, but this movie presents a lot of questions it doesn't answer. It throws a lot of concepts at you and then just kind of moves on like, whatever, mate.
Another thing about this movie, it's not really known about. It doesn't seem like this movie really has. I guess this movie has a cult following at the very least.
In Australia? I don't know, maybe.
In Australia, some parts of America.
That's the thing about it, though, is I'm still watching at this point because I'm kind of like, where are you going with this movie? All right, I got to know. I got to know where you're going. Like,
this movie is popular in parts of New England where they still believe in werewolves.
It's popular in remote villages in the Outback.
And parts of the Outback where they still believe in werewolves, yes.
Because it's the only VHS they have.
When they still watch VHS video.
And so anyway, so Thylo's been gone for 5 minutes in this movie, and suddenly the professor...
yes, back to this movie. Yes, Thylo.
Yeah, this movie, we're almost there. And so he was killed with that bazooka because he was the giant werewolf. And then,
I love that. He shoots the bazooka right at the fucking thing as it's coming into the tent. It's just lunging right at him, octopusy, tiger style. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just a short thing. And anyway, so Olga
blows the shit out of it, cannon style.
Yeah. So Beckmeyer and Olga are just living off the grid, and Olga's pregnant. We turn this whole part of the movie, a very long part, kind of, where it's like Olga and the professor and Jerboa and Donnie, and they're all it's idyllic, and they're living off the grid, and they're just kind of raising their children.
Turns into a bad Twilight Zone episode. You almost expect like the bad voiceover, like, Two werewolves living off the grid in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, hold on.
Sorry, that was my bad Jordan Christopher Twilight Zone impression, and that's a really obscure. Sorry, this movie made me do it, Anthony.
See what you did, movie? You're making Jordan do bad Jordan Christopher impressions. God damn.
Nobody who listens to this podcast even knows who the fuck that is. I'm sorry.
Movie, you're making Jordan's references even more obscure than they normally are. How dare you?
Doesn't help my case here. Anyway,
they're all living off the grid, raising their babies. There's music. And then, so then Donnie is like, I want to go back to the city. And then Professor says, that's dangerous. He's like, no, Gerbeau and I want to go back to the city, assume new identities, and go back into the film business.
That's right.
That's smart. So they go away.
Yeah. And then is this where we go to the future?
We're going to the future.
Where everybody has gray hair and then suddenly.
Well, hold on. Let me speak to that. Okay. Yes. Because Beckmeyer and Olga, they've been living off the grid, raising their baby, now a teenager, for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has aged at all. They look exactly the same to me. I don't know. Maybe you saw some age.
No, the professor got a little gray brushed into his hair. You can tell.
Oh, okay.
They took the time to brush the fake gray into his hair.
Yeah, the fantastic makeup department brushed a little gray into his hair.
Or maybe they just told the actor to not use just gray for men this time around, and he just, didn't bother. And,
I'm not just the president, I'm also a client, mate.
Not only that I'm a president, but I'm also a client. Don't I look younger?
It makes you not age after 15 years.
Just gray for men.
An Australian 50 is everybody else's 27. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Sharp finds them after all these years, and then we get just a slap in the face exposition. He's like, long story, but the generals were killing werewolves, and then the Pope declared amnesty, and then the president was like, okay, that's good enough for us, so we're not killing werewolves anymore.
Yeah, the most exposition we got in this whole fucking movie so far with this guy's speech,
What the fuck is that?
This guy's little explanation on things, Harris. Jeez.
That's that's a lot. That's a big pill to swallow.
I hate to break it to you. I mean, why couldn't Paul Lynn have just said there and just given it to us by that point? I hate to break it to you. We don't kill werewolves anymore. Sorry. We didn't mean what we were doing there.
The Pope, the guy with the big pointy hat?
Yeah.
He's okay with werewolves now. Okay. Society is doing better now. We don't kill werewolves anymore.
They're people. They're the rest of us, okay?
It's a dark partner history we've moved on from.
Werewolves are people too.
I feel like he just described, almost like a Planet of the Apes sequel, he just described a whole movie in that one, 2 sentences. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot to happen.
And it wasn't the same as what we just saw still. It's like, yeah, okay. I need a little more explanation. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And really, this probably should have been broken into multiple movies like the Planet of the Apes series. Can't you see a movie where Donnie and Gerbeau have the baby and they're captured and they're being studied? I don't know, something. And then there's a werewolf uprising. And
yeah, if it tried to, you're right. You bring up a great point. This could have been the Escape from the Planet of the Apes. This could have been Escape from the Howling 3. Escape from Planet is the third movie.
I wanted to escape from this movie. I wanted to escape from the Howling franchise.
Yeah. Same here.
But sorry, it could have been Escape from Behind the Planet of the Apes.
It could have been Escape from the Planet of the Apes. That was a movie where the apes came back into present time, and then they gave birth and explained the future, and then they could have had some civilization in the fourth movie where they were suddenly the howling werewolves had taken over the planet. Yeah, they could have been interesting by that point, but what the God, this movie.
Well, we're almost done. Our long journey through the Outback.
Back to this movie. So the girl is now an actress, right? The girl that gave birth.
Yeah, she's now an actress.
She's a diva.
He's a director.
She's just a bitch. A dragon lady, as they used to say. And then she's bitching at this director about how he's telling her there needs to be sex.
She's bitching at Donnie.
Oh, that's right. That's Donnie.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be Donnie.
Because Donnie's now a director. She is Loretta Carson, and he is Sully, wait for it, Spellingberg. Yeah. Yeah.
Spelling and Berg. He got Aaron Spelling and Steven Spielberg's DNA. But he's got that mustache to explain that he's aged.
He's half Aaron Spelling, half Steven Spielberg, mate.
And he has a cop mustache
He's a spelling
and
bag.
sunglasses to explain that he's aged also. But damn, I did not make that connection because he's also a dick at this point, just unexplainably a dick. And he says there needs to be more sex in the movies. I guess he's making porn movies now with the werewolf life, basically, because he says there needs to be more sex in the movie. And she's like, my profits dictate this and that, blah, 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 blah. And I guess she's just basically explaining that her porn movies, man, this is more depressing now than I thought it was even, actually.
Too much time has passed. Yeah, I don't even understand what's going on at this point anymore. And then, so...
They didn't explain none of this to us, the audience.
Yeah. Okay, let me just wrap the movie up. This, we missed a lot of stuff, and you're getting caught up in one scene, and then you leap from that scene to something else. So 8 years later, again, we're forward in time. Presumably, this is about the year 2002, I guess.
Wait, that was 8 years later, again after this?
Yes.
Oh, God damn
when the professor's in L.A., he's lecturing to a class.
Excuse me, that's a lot to take in.
The son of Jerboa and Donnie come up.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm the son of Jerboa and Donnie. Remember those, the werewolf couple you lived in the Outback with for however many years? He's like, oh, yes. And then they hug. And he's like, what's going on with your parents? He says, my mother's in L.A. Well, they're in L.A., so I don't know why they didn't contact each other, but whatever.
That's right.
And she's a famous actress. And he's like, oh, your mother is Loretta Carlson or whatever. Like, how did he not recognize her?
Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean?
this kid also has an unexplainable American accent as well, I might add. I'm just saying.
He's got some weird accents, maybe part American, I don't know what.
Cannot explain.
That's the biggest mystery, is the accents in this movie. The biggest mystery. And so they're in LA, obviously. So then there's an awards ceremony. She's a famous actress. Award ceremony.
She's at the Oscars, literally.
Yeah.
The 82nd Oscars.
Yeah.
They literally have skipped that far into the future.
Laser Arts and Sciences, they call it. But yeah, it's the Oscars. And Dame
Looks
Edna.
just like the Oscars.
Do you remember Dame Edna? She's an Australian, comedian. Drag
that was
comedian.
Dame Edna, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. It was.
Spared no expense, mate. You know.
She cost more than the effects, mate. We spent $500,000 on effects. We spent $1.2 million on Dame Edna. Just saying.
She's the special effect at the end of this movie. Anyway, again, nobody's aged in another 8 years. She hasn't aged. Jerboa has not aged in 23 years or whatever it is. 23 years.
Just a little bit salt and pepper. Maybe he's got a good plastic surgeon. I don't know.
So anyway, super anticlimactic ending. She's on stage with flash bulbs and it causes her to transform.
Oh, yeah. Those, the flash bulbs, the strobes. Yes, Anthony.
Yeah.
Caused me to have an acid flashback at that point in the movie. But yeah, she does. And it doesn't help her any. It makes it worse off for her.
Well, I mean...
Although, oddly, why now in the movie? Why now?
Why now?
After all this time? That's the first time as a famous person she said famous people have, especially back then, have flashbulbs on them all the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, especially she's an Oscar-winning actress. And then...
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. That's exactly in my notes. I'm like, why is this happening now? And then they also ripped this off from the original freaking movie. It's the end of the original movie. Same thing more or less happens.
Oh, yeah,
News
she
anchor
turns into a werewolf, just like D. Wallace Stone at the beginning of the first movie.
Yeah.
When she's a news lady and they're like, Mommy, Daddy, the news lady. Because I was saying to myself, Mommy, Daddy, the actress on the Oscars just turned into a werewolf. I was just saying that to myself.
Yeah. Except, spoiler alert for that movie, she gets shot in the end. Something happens besides her turning into a werewolf. All she does here is just turn into a werewolf. Guess what? We've seen this 15 times in this movie already. What's special about someone turning into a werewolf?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the world already, I guess, knows about
too
werewolves.
Late. Sorry.
Because the president called off the whole thing. I'm very confused at this point. The professor's teaching a class about werewolves. Why is this a big deal?
Well, there is something dramatic that happens. She breaks the Oscar, and it looks just like an Oscar.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Bad Rubber Werewolf Club crushing a wax Oscar.
Yeah. And it still, it just still looks like a mask on her. I mean, it doesn't look as good as the Rob Bottin effect on the first movie when Dee Wallace is turning, because she slowly turns and they just do cutaways at least. But you see some morphing going on in her face at least on that one. But this movie.
Yeah, Jordan, this is this is a horror movie after all. There's no kills at the end.
Yeah.
And we just recycled the original movie's ending.
I don't know. Why didn't they just do an echo of the monster movies from the previous time, even in that age? I mean, why not? Did they think they just had to hip it up too much? Is that what it was? I mean, was there pressure from the investors on how to write the script? What the fuck, this movie? Sorry.
I mean, I really think it's all Felipe Mora.
Yeah. I just think of what a waste they could have. They could have been more creative. I think they missed some opportunities here. You know, they had all these locations.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just shoot it in black and white and make it like a Universal picture at that point? Who cares? Make it a werewolf.
Yeah.
Make it a classic werewolf movie. Call it the Howling III.
I think what happened is they brought in Felipe Mora on the second one, and then I guess that did well enough that he thought, like, I'll go back to my native Australian, film a third one. Why not?
Oh, that's right, because he was from the second movie where it didn't really even connect the dots anyway. So it just was like,
so
yeah.
If we don't care about continuity, we can do marsupial werewolves. Who cares?
If he was just going to do what he wanted by that point and go back to his homeland, still even it's like, God, I still feel like he missed an opportunity.
Yeah, but okay, to sort of break it down here, my thoughts. Now it's an Australian film, so I'm going to give it a little bit of grace because maybe there's some differences in pacing and expectation. Australian audiences are different, right?
Yeah.
But it's just clumsy on every level. The editing, like we didn't talk about, the script, the plot is like
script and editing especially as well. I have to say.
Did anyone proofread this and say, "Wait a minute, Philippe, this doesn't make any damn sense"? Or
I would definitely blame the script writer. Yeah, I'd definitely blame the script. Whatever pressure there was in the script, maybe they were taking pages out. I don't know. Maybe they lost reels in the negatives. I don't know.
The editing is just really choppy and the story's all over the place and the makeup is meh, but it's okay. I mean, low expectations. Yeah. Now, we know this is a bad movie, obviously, Jordan, but are there some interesting ideas here? Could this have been done better with just a better plot? This idea of marsupial werewolves.
Yes, absolutely.
Sympathy for them and protecting them from people who are the real monsters, you know?
The bizarre birth scene is a movie unto itself. You could have built a whole movie around that alone. That's the problem. The problem is too many damn subplots. It's so subplot heavy. So many characters within the subplots.
Yeah.
We're exhausted as the audience. Our butts are just dropping into the seat, just going ass dead into the seat. That's what happens with movies like this.
Yeah, it's quite long. I had to break it up, and it's or it's not even that long. It's just exhausting. Your brain.
That's the problem. It's at 98 minutes. It's long. At 98 minutes. 98 minutes is usually a proper pacing for a movie. But that's what's bizarre.
You're just trying to keep up, and your brain's working overtime trying to absorb this and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But Jordan, going back, I think there are some good ideas here, and they could have just a simpler plot, like you said. Maybe just had Jerboa and her baby running from the city or something. We're just running from like scientists and the army trying to get her, and then she wolfs out and kills people when she has to, like they back her into a corner or something. You know what I mean?
Fuck, your plot's already better and makes more sense. Just if you're focusing on just that, fuck yeah, let's just go there.
A story about a mother trying to protect her child, you know?
Yeah, that's why I say they had a missed opportunity within those elements as well you're mentioning.
Yeah. And you can weave in the thylacine and the Aboriginal legends and the mystical stuff. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And you can even talk about or have a sequel where basically, you have werewolves are living in this society and they're trying to survive and they're being persecuted. You can do all that. It's just not done very well here.
No, I would have just done it. I would have done all that as flashbacks in her mind. She ran away from her family who was this fucking backwoods. I mean, yeah, fine. Backwoods werewolves. I get it. I'm from the South. I get it. No.
Backwoods werewolf. Bam, 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 bam.
Exactly. Backwoods werewolf. I get it, man. But like, why not flash back to that in black and white or something? And, and then allude to it, whatever. And then, she's a mother trying to protect her unborn baby. Make the whole movie about the unborn baby.
Yeah. Or the baby in her pouch. Just skip the birth scene. Yeah.
Save the birth scene for the ending. At least.
there's an idea here. It's not. That's what's so intriguing is I think there's some interesting ideas. But I was waiting for them to be developed, and they were just like, "Here's a good idea. We're just going to move on. Here's a really good idea. We're going to
Yeah.
move on." And that's what keeps happening, and the plot keeps pushing forward without
Too many
developing.
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah,
This movie had too many ideas.
Yeah, too many weird ideas. They should have kept it simple. But I think one of the biggest problems is they tried to make this some tongue-in-cheek comedy.
Yeah.
You know, like a movie spoof at times, and it's really.
I'd liken it to three. It's almost like four movies were running at once here at the same time, and we were skipping back and forth between the projection booths. You know what I mean? It's like somebody on speed was just moving back and forth between these movies. You know, going, okay, I like this movie, I like that movie, I like this movie, I like this movie. Okay, great. I mean, it's literally like somebody just stayed up too late writing the script also, and in 3 days or something on a 3-day cocaine binge, maybe. You know, going, I'm gonna write a fucking werewolf movie. All right, motherfucker, it's gonna be the fucking best werewolf movie. Okay. We're gonna bring in the military, make it about a werewolf birth. We're gonna have some werewolf sex going on. Okay, and then we're gonna.
It's got to be in the Outback, man. It's got to be in the Outback, and we need some Aboriginal magic.
How many days have gone by so far since I've written this movie? Oh, god damn it! I'm only 60 pages in. Fuck, I need another 30 fucking pages.
This is genius, man.
Genius, man. I'm fucking genius here, man. We're geniuses, man.
So, I mean, it must have been.
Yeah. This werewolf movie's gonna win a fucking Oscar, man.
Let's write in a scene where it wins an Oscar at the end, man. Meta, like totally meta. I mean, yeah, it's like a movie where they study werewolves in a lab, and then another movie where werewolves are in the Outback, and then and then there's no third act. There's no freaking third act to this. It deflates once they start living out off the grid. It ceases to be a horror movie.
No, yeah.
It just literally spends 20 minutes wrapping up, you know?
Yeah.
And the pace becomes really slow, and nothing really happens until that werewolf transformation at the end. It's too little, too late.
The effects are fun, I will say. Even the bad ones are fun. Those are the best parts of the movie, honestly. The fucking long, that's the problem. There's like so many long explanation and explanatory scenes, though, at the same time that just connect oddly. You're just like, what the fuck? You're lost as the audience. I dare anybody to watch this movie and defy us on all this stuff we're saying. Seriously. Go tell us the genius of this movie. Tell us where we're wrong, please. Out there, you the audience, if you hear this broadcast.
But Jordan, I don't know. This movie could be beloved in Australia, man. You have no idea. So be careful.
That's what I mean.
Don't incur the wrath of an entire continent, please.
Yeah. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me I'm an asshole. Whatever. Tell us we're dumbasses for being lost. Please explain it, but please just explain that to us as well.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Felipe Mora. I found very little when I was researching this, and all he talked about was that one werewolf scene. He was like, we were trying to think of interesting ways for people to turn into werewolves. And that was it.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah, studying werewolves in the lab, stuff like that. There are interesting ideas here. It's just not executed very well. And some of his other movies are much better. I don't know what, you're right. He was on some drugs or something, man.
Even
the
1996 version of Island of Dr. Moreau, some people love it, some people hate it. But to the people that hate it, that movie makes more sense even still than this movie does.
Yeah.
That movie moves at a fluid pace even. I'm just saying a movie that deals with creatures and wolfish kind of creatures and all that and effects.
Well, Jordan, I couldn't find numbers on this or find out much about it, really. I don't know how long it was released for, how many theaters, and the estimates for its budget were $1 to $2 million.
That makes sense,
which is a big
that's low budget
gap,
basically.
Yeah, but maybe it's certainly low budget. I don't know if that's Australian dollars.
It's not micro budget, but it's low budget, meaning they had enough to shoot it on 35 millimeter and get it released. And
I can't imagine it was a big hit in the States, probably a bigger hit in Australia. Maybe it made its money back because they continued to make Howling movies, but they were
direct to video.
They were direct to video, yeah. So maybe this was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, of the Howling franchise as far as a movie franchise, movie theater.
That's franchise. One thing I think if you look back too, if one looks back, one will notice is that The Howling somehow spawned more sequels after this as well, oddly. All the way up to, I think 8 or 9, maybe. I might be wrong.
God. Yeah.
And it was all direct-to-video after that. I honestly think that they were just slapping the title on after that and just having a wolf costume.
Yeah, Jordan, I dare say, I don't know. I've seen the first 2. I don't remember if I've seen the sequels.
I've never seen any of those, honestly, though, oddly. Even as much crap as I've watched, I've never seen anything other than this is the most I've sat through a Howling movie in general. And years as it is, I think I saw the original on television when I was a kid.
Yeah. I saw this one on television as a kid as well, and that's why it's my fault. I'll own this. This is on me.
Wow.
I wanted to see it because I was like, I remember that being interesting. And oh boy, it's interesting. It's just not very good, really. Even as so bad it's good movie, it's just weird. It's just really weird.
I would have loved to have seen this with an audience that was like funnier than the movie. You know what I mean? Like a big audience where they were just, making jokes during it and giggling at it and laughing at the right parts, laughing at all the wrong parts. And,
but it's even not really that so bad it's good that you could laugh at it. It's more like...
But it's hard to enjoy it as a bad movie. It's good by yourself, late at night. Because it's so bizarre. You're just like, what the fuck?
And some parts aren't really that bad. And I doubt it's even the worst Howling movie, to be honest. I bet there's Howling movies are far worse.
Yeah. I don't even know what the I think I remember reading reviews of some of the direct-to-video sequels. And there's like, still none of that magic from the first movie.
Yeah.
The first Howling movie. No.
So anyways, Jordan.
How do we rate this movie?
What kind of rating do you give this film?
How do I rate this movie? Oh my God. It's like, can I rate it good and bad? Like as a good, bad movie, I rate it on a level of 8, cause it's so laughable.
Yeah.
But like as a movie, God, I would rate it as a 2 from a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
I don't even know a clever way to rate it other than the level of 1 to 10, but maybe 1 to 10, wolf claws. I don't know.
You could do better than that. Come on, Jordan. All the weirdness we talked about. I mean, Jordan, you got to be more creative about 2 spinning ballerina werewolves. Just say something that happened in this movie.
Oh, I know. I'm trying to think of like something creative in that area. Wolf teeth. That's the only thing I can think of.
Anyway, yeah, okay. I'll do mine. Okay. I think if you're a horror fan, maybe a 5. I would say, kind of a 3 if you're anyone else. I'd say about 5 personally. I do think it's kind of endearing in a weird way. It's weird. It's not very good, but it comes from a good place. You can tell. There's some, dare I say it, love.
They might have been trying to make a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some love in this movie. Love, and they don't work, but the campy, spoofy Hollywood things and all that. There's some love in this and some jokes and an idea here, but it's just not pulled off very well. Okay actors except for the American guy. And for me, I think it comes together in a way that makes it interesting and maybe somewhat endearing. But despite that, I really can't recommend this. Unless you're just a fan of weird movies and stuff. So about a 5 for me. And I would caution everyone else to maybe stay away from it.
I think you're being generous still.
The movie presents interesting ideas. It gets a few points for just interesting ideas. It doesn't explore, but I was like, you could talk about this movie. You can talk about some of these concepts, which have been probably explored better in other movies. But I'm being a little kind to it. And maybe there's a little shine from when I was a kid watching this movie or something like that the one time I saw it. And so, Jordan, I have to apologize to you again. I'm sorry.
Maybe I should redo my rating system here as, maybe 2 out of 10 werewolf births.
Yeah, you just stole mine. I was going to do marsupial werewolf birth scenes. Okay, fine.
Oh, okay.
I will think of an 5 out of 10 spinning ballerina
embryos,
werewolves.
or I don't know.
Yeah.
Werewolf embryos? I don't know.
Much like a marsupial embryo, this movie is not fully formed, and it needed to sit in a pouch and develop a little longer before.
I agree
before
with you on that assessment, Anthony. Much like an opera in development that you see in this movie was not an opera fully in development until it broke out in subplots and werewolves, and bad werewolf makeups. Yeah,
probably the least bloody werewolf movie ever.
Broke out in hives and subplots.
Broke out. Okay, Jordan, that's all I have to say about this movie. And thank you for bearing with me here on our Halloween Threequel episode, our review of Halloween 3. Next time, we're going to watch some other movie, probably with fewer marsupial werewolves. And I don't know, maybe not an Australian movie. I don't know.
Oh, well, I need a break from this. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I need a different kind of monster.
All right. And everyone, again, thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this. Check out Howling 3 if you are really a masochist.
Yeah.
If you really want to be confused and exhausted.
If you really want to hurt your brain, don't watch this movie after a shift at work kind of day. I wouldn't recommend it for that especially. Watch a horror film you don't have to think about as much. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Where it's all about atmosphere at least.
Yeah. And so, yeah, thank you all. Please, if you like this, like us and listen to our other episodes. Jordan, this has been...
The Werewolves Took My Podcast, mate.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.